You can't own a dog like that in this neighborhood.
I'm reporting you right now!
Those were the first words Karen, my self-proclaimed guardian of the block, shouted across the street as she pointed a trembling finger at my German shepherd, Max. The poor guy wasn't doing anything but sniffing around our yard, wagging his tail and looking as gentle as ever. But to Karen, Max was apparently the embodiment of danger itself. What Karen didn't know, and what made this entire story turn on its head, was that I wasn't just a dog owner. I was the head veterinarian at the county's largest animal hospital. If anyone knew how to care for, train, and ensure the safety of a pet, it was me. But Karen, armed with her clipboard of self-importance and a phone full of speed dial contacts, wasn't about to let that stop her crusade. It all started on a Tuesday morning. I was sipping my coffee when Karen stomped up my driveway, her heels clacking like gunfire against the concrete. She didn't bother with pleasantries. Instead, she began reciting a laundry list of violations. Max was supposedly guilty of barking too loudly, scaring children, looking aggressive, and, my favorite one, standing too close to the sidewalk. I tried to stay calm. After all, I deal with stressed pet owners every day. But Karen wasn't looking for a discussion. She was looking for a fight. When I explained that Max was fully trained, registered, and perfectly safe, she waved her hand in my face and announced she would handle this officially. Within an hour, a white truck with animal control stenciled on the side rolled up to my curb. Karen stood proudly on her porch, arms folded, lips pursed, waiting for the officers to take Max away. What she didn't expect was the look of surprise on the officers' faces when they stepped out of the vehicle and saw me standing there. "Dr. Miller?" one of them said, recognizing me instantly. Karen blinked in confusion. "Wait, you know him?" she demanded. Oh, they knew me all right. Not only did they know me, but I was also the one who trained half of their staff in animal safety protocols. Karen's smug expression faltered as the realization slowly set in. She had just tried to report a dog to the very person who oversaw the welfare of animals in the entire county. And that was only the beginning of her downfall. Karen's proud smirk collapsed the moment the animal control officers addressed me by title. I could practically see the gears turning in her head as she tried to make sense of the situation. Still, she refused to back down. "This man is harboring a dangerous animal," she insisted, pointing at Max like he was a criminal. "Look at him. That dog is a menace. He lunges, he barks, he terrifies children. Do your job and remove him from the premises." The officers exchanged an awkward glance. One of them, Officer Daniels, turned toward me and asked quietly, "Is this true, Doc?" I crouched down and gave Max a pat on the head. He sat obediently, wagging his tail, then lay down at my feet on command. Not a single growl, not a shred of aggression, just calm loyalty. Daniels chuckled. "Ma'am," he said firmly, "this dog is better behaved than most we encounter. I'd call him a model pet." Karen's face flushed crimson. She sputtered, waving her arms wildly. "You're being manipulated." Of course he's on his best behavior now. But I've seen him chase children. I've seen him glare at people. That animal is dangerous. And you're just covering for him because you're friends with whoever this guy is. The other officer, a younger recruit named Clark, looked puzzled. "Wait, you don't know who Dr. Miller is?" Karen narrowed her eyes. "Why should I?" Daniels sighed. "Dr. Miller is the head veterinarian at the county hospital. He's the one we consult on difficult cases. If there's anyone qualified to judge whether a dog is dangerous, it's him." You could have heard a pin drop. Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. But if there was one thing I'd already learned about her, it was that admitting defeat wasn't in her vocabulary. "I don't care who he is," she snapped finally. "This is my neighborhood, and I have every right to demand safety. That dog is a problem. And if you won't do something, I'll take this to the HOA, and hire if I must." Max, as if on cue, let out a small yawn and rolled onto his back, paws in the air, asking for a belly rub. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Daniels chuckled again, shook his head, and muttered to me, "Guess this isn't over." He was right. Karen had only just begun her campaign, and what she did next would push me to confront her head-on. If Karen couldn't win with animal control, she was determined to try another angle. The very next morning, I found a bright yellow notice taped to my front door. At the top, in bold red letters, it read, "Violation, aggressive pet on property." I laughed out loud. It was an official-looking letter, stamped with the HOA's seal, accusing me of endangering the safety of neighbors with a hostile animal. The penalty, according to Karen, was that Max had to be removed from my home immediately or I would be fined. $500 for every day he remained. I could practically hear her voice in every word. She had gone straight to the HOA board, twisting the truth until they believed her version of events. The letter wasn't legally enforceable, But Karen was counting on fear and intimidation to get her way. Unfortunately for her, intimidation doesn't work on a veterinarian who deals with aggressive Rottweilers before breakfast. That evening, I attended the HOA meeting. Sure enough, there she was, front row, arms crossed, glaring at me like she was waiting for her victory lap. When my turn to speak came, Karen pounced first. "This man has endangered our entire neighborhood," she declared to the board. "His dog is a constant threat. I've received complaints from at least 3 families who are afraid to let their children play outside. We can't allow this menace to continue." The board members shifted uncomfortably. They didn't want conflict, but they also didn't want lawsuits. I stood up slowly, feeling the room's tension rise. "With respect," I began, "everything Mrs. Johnson just said is either exaggerated or entirely false. Max is a certified therapy animal, trained for obedience and temperament testing. In fact, he's passed stricter evaluations than most service dogs. I have the paperwork right here." I handed out copies of Max's certification and veterinary records. Karen's jaw tightened. I wasn't just defending Max with words, I had hard proof. "And if you're still concerned," I continued, "I'll invite the board to come to my clinic and observe Max's behavior around other animals and people. You'll see firsthand that he's no danger to anyone." The room buzzed with murmurs. The board members flipped through the papers, clearly impressed. Karen's face was practically glowing red, but she wasn't ready to back down. "This is outrageous," she hissed. "He's tricking you with fancy documents. That dog is dangerous, and if this board won't protect us, I'll take this to the county council myself." Her threat echoed through the room. I realized she wasn't just after Max anymore, she was after me. Karen's obsession had reached fever pitch. Within days, she had filed complaints, not only with the HOA but also with the county council, and even attempted to contact the local news. In her mind, she was a crusader protecting the neighborhood from a so-called dangerous beast. But what Karen didn't realize was that her relentless attacks were about to backfire spectacularly. One afternoon, as I was leaving for work, I noticed a group of reporters and a cameraman standing near my driveway. Karen was with them, waving her arms dramatically, pointing at Max through the fence as though she'd uncovered some criminal conspiracy. "This is the dog terrorizing our children," she announced into the cameras. "We demand he be removed before tragedy strikes." Max, sensing the commotion, padded up to the fence. Instead of baring his teeth or barking, he licked the cameraman's hand through the wire and wagged his tail. The cameraman burst out laughing. The reporters, clearly expecting something different, exchanged amused glances. "Ma'am," one of them said cautiously, "that looks like a very gentle dog." Karen's face twitched. "Don't be fooled! He's vicious, I tell you. Vicious!" And then came the moment that sealed her fate. Officer Daniels from Animal Control arrived on the scene. Having been notified of the disturbance, with the cameras rolling, he shook my hand warmly. "Dr. Miller," he said, "sorry you're being dragged into this again. We've already cleared Max as safe, certified, and perfectly well-behaved. There's no danger here." The reporters turned their microphones toward him. "So this dog isn't a threat?" one asked. "Not at all," Daniels replied firmly. "In fact, he's probably one of the best trained dogs in the county. The real problem here," he added, glancing at Karen, "is misinformation." The clip aired that very evening. Karen's dramatic warnings were broadcast side by side with footage of Max licking a cameraman's hand and rolling in the grass. Public opinion flipped instantly. Instead of being viewed as a hero, Karen became a neighborhood laughingstock. The HOA, embarrassed by the unwanted publicity, distanced themselves from her entirely. They issued a formal apology to me and rescinded the violation notice. Karen was quietly removed from her position on the board within a week. As for Max, he became something of a local celebrity. Neighbors who once avoided him now stopped by to pet him, and children came over asking if they could play fetch. Karen had tried to destroy us, but in the end, she only managed to expose herself. Max stretched out beside me that evening, his head resting on my knee as if he knew he'd won. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment about what you'd do in this situation, and subscribe for more crazy Karen and HOA stories every week. And hey, turn on the so you never miss the next one.